The midnight radio broadcast. It started, like most urban legends, with a whisper. A rumor that spread from one sleepless soul to another, traded in hushed tones at the back of diners and through online forums dedicated to the unexplained. At exactly 12 a.m., somewhere between static and silence, a signal broke through the FM dial. A station with no name, no announcer, no music, at least not the kind you'd recognize. Just a strange droning melody, like someone plucking guitar strings underwater, mixed with faint voices that faded in and out as though they were calling from the other side of a tunnel. Most people brushed it off as interference, but the few who had truly listened, the ones who tuned in night after night, claimed the broadcast wasn't random at all. They said it spoke to them, not in riddles or vague predictions, but in cold, direct sentences. Sentences that dug under your skin and stayed there. It was on one of those restless nights that Evan Carter first stumbled onto the frequency. Evan was a night shift security guard, the kind of man whose entire world existed under flickering fluorescent lights and the hum of vending machines. His job was lonely, his apartment lonelier. Sleep came in fragments, shattered by the constant buzz of anxiety that seemed to grow louder every year. He was fiddling with the old tabletop radio in the break room when he heard it. Evan. He froze. The sound was faint, buried under static, but unmistakable. His name. Evan Carter. You're listening, aren't you? The voice was slow, drawn out, as though it had traveled a great distance to reach him. Evan's stomach turned cold. He spun the dial back and forth, but the moment he strayed from the frequency, the sound dissolved into ordinary static. When he returned, the voice was waiting. Keep listening. The break room seemed smaller suddenly, its corners darker. He told himself it had to be a prank, some pirate radio station maybe, or a glitch in the airwaves. But then the voice said something that made the blood drain from his face. I can see you. Would you like me to keep going right away with part 2, approximately 1,000 more words, continuing the broadcast's horrors? So we build this into the full 10,000-word story, step by step? The voice in the static. Evan's hand hovered over the radio dial, but he couldn't bring himself to turn it off. His heart hammered against his ribs, every instinct screaming that he should pull the plug, throw the thing against the wall, and walk away. But he didn't. He leaned closer. The static wavered, swelling and breaking like waves. Somewhere deep inside it, the voice shifted, softer now, almost coaxing. Don't be afraid, Evan. The way it said his name sent shivers running down his arms. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't pre-recorded. It sounded alive. He swallowed hard. Who are you? He whispered, before realizing how ridiculous that was. He was talking to a radio. For a moment, silence. Then, faintly, the drone of that underwater guitar string sound. After a pause, the voice returned. Someone who knows you. Someone who has always known. Evan stiffened. His mouth went dry. What do you mean? Static roared, the speakers crackling so loud he had to pull back. Then, clear as day. 3rd floor, hallway, camera 2. Evan froze. His job was to watch over the building's cameras. Camera 2 pointed at the dimly lit hallway on the 3rd floor, a place that rarely saw movement. His chest tightened as he realized the voice wasn't guessing. It knew. He grabbed his flashlight and rushed to the security monitors. Sure enough, on camera 2, the grainy black and white feed showed the 3rd floor hallway. Empty. Quiet. Until it wasn't. A shadow flickered at the far end of the hall. Not a person exactly. More like a shape that didn't belong, stretching and bending as though the hallway itself was distorting around it. Evan blinked hard, leaning closer, but the figure melted into the static haze of the screen. The radio hissed again behind him. Go look. Evan. Every rational thought screamed, don't. But he found himself walking anyway, the weight of the flashlight cold in his hand. The elevator groaned as it carried him upward. When the doors slid open on the third floor, the silence was suffocating. The hum of electricity seemed distant, muted. He stepped into the hallway. The lights flickered overhead. The same hallway he'd seen on the monitor stretched before him, long, narrow, lined with empty offices. His shoes echoed too loud against the linoleum, the sound bouncing unnaturally off the walls. Halfway down the hall, he stopped. Someone was whispering. At first, he thought it was the wind rattling through the vents. But no, the words were distinct, faint, familiar. Evan. His flashlight beam quivered as he swept it down the hall. Nothing. Turn around. The voice wasn't coming from ahead. It was behind him. Slowly, heart pounding, Evan turned. The hallway was empty. But the radio, his radio, was sitting on the floor at the end of the hall, wires trailing like veins across the tiles. It shouldn't have been there. He had left it in the break room. The voice hissed through the static again. You can't run. You're already tuned in. Evan staggered back, his flashlight clattering to the floor. The beam spun wildly, catching glimpses of peeling wallpaper, dusty office doors, and the radio's flickering red dial. And then, just for a second, he saw it. A figure crouched beside the radio. Too thin, too long. Its head bent unnaturally, as though listening. Its face hidden in the shadows. When the flashlight beam steadied, the figure was gone. Only the radio remained, humming with static. Evan bolted. He didn't wait for the elevator. He took the stairs 2 at a time, lungs burning, the phantom echo of whispers chasing him all the way back to the break room. When he slammed the door shut, the room was just as he'd left it. The radio sat harmlessly on the table, its dial glowing faintly. Evan's stomach dropped. If the radio was here, what had he seen upstairs? The voice returned, calm and steady. Now you know. Evan, once you hear the broadcast, you belong to it. Evan stumbled back, knocking over his chair. His hands shook violently. The static grew louder, filling the room like a physical presence. He grabbed the radio, yanked the plug from the wall. Sparks snapped, but the sound didn't stop. The broadcast continued. You can't turn us off. The dial flickered brighter, and for the first time, Evan realized it wasn't just a voice. Underneath, layered deep within the signal, were other voices. Dozens of them. Hundreds, maybe. All whispering, crying, laughing in distorted tones. It wasn't a single broadcaster. It was a chorus. And they were all speaking to him. Evan. 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 He stumbled out of the break room, clutching the useless radio in his hands, and for the first time in years, Evan felt genuine terror. Not the dull ache of loneliness or anxiety, but something primal, suffocating. Whatever this broadcast was, it had found him, and it wasn't going to let go. Evan didn't go back to work the next night. He didn't sleep either. He sat in his dim apartment with the radio on the table, staring at it as if it were alive. The thing terrified him, but he couldn't bring himself to throw it away. He'd tried once, carried it down 3 flights of stairs, dumped it in the dumpster behind his building. By the time he got back to his apartment, the radio was waiting on his kitchen counter. Dial glowing, volume low, the whispers still calling his name. By the 3rd day, Evan's eyes were sunken, red-veined. He needed answers. He typed frantic search terms into his laptop. Radio static voices, mystery midnight broadcast, station that knows your name. Buried under conspiracy blogs and paranormal Reddit threads, he found something. The midnight broadcast. Who else has heard it? It was an old forum post, nearly a decade old. The username was long since deleted, but the replies were still there. I tuned into 97.9 at midnight. Got a weird signal. Music like funeral hymns played backward. Then it said my name. I swear to God it said my name. User Shadowman84. Don't listen. Please. My cousin heard it too. 3 days later, she was gone. Only thing left in her room was the radio still playing. Don't. Keep listening. User Alma_S. If you hear it once, you're marked. You're part of it. The broadcast will find you anywhere. Throwing away your radio won't help. It doesn't matter what city you're in. Midnight comes. The signal follows. User Deadfreck. Evan scrolled faster, his stomach twisting tighter with every post. Another reply caught his eye. There's a way to trace the origin. You need an analog tuner, external antenna, and a signal trap. But don't. Whatever is transmitting isn't human. It wants you to find it. User Voidcaller. He leaned back, rubbing his face. His hands trembled, but a new fire burned in his chest. If this was real, if others had experienced it too, then maybe there was an explanation. A transmitter, a cult, something rational. But deep down, Evan knew better. He remembered the figure crouched by the radio in the hallway, the chorus of voices layered beneath the main one. This wasn't just radio interference. Still, he couldn't stop himself. He had to know. That night, he drove across town to a dingy electronics shop run by an old man with nicotine-stained fingers. The shelves sagged under forgotten tech, tape decks, VHS players, dusty speakers. "I need an analog tuner," Evan muttered, voice hoarse. "And a signal trap. External antenna, too." The old man squinted at him. "Not many people ask for those anymore. Can you get them or not?" The man shuffled into the back, returning with the equipment. Evan paid cash, shoved the items into his trunk, and drove home without looking back.